Thank you, everyone, for coming in this morning to talk with us about the importance of small business in Pennsylvania and the importance of small business tax policy on jobs in Pennsylvania. I'm Stephen Bloom, State Representative, prime sponsor of one of the bills in our small business tax fairness package that we're going to be talking about today. And Governor Wolf has talked a lot about business tax reform in his first few weeks in office. And that's something certainly we all agree is very much long overdue in Pennsylvania. But he's also, the governor, talked about potentially raising the personal income tax and the sales tax. And it's important to note that the personal income tax is a tax that small businesses pay in Pennsylvania. It's a business tax. So a hike in the personal income tax is going to be a hike in taxes on our small businesses. What we're essentially our theme today is respectfully asking the governor, don't let small businesses fall through the cracks. When we look at reforming business taxes in Pennsylvania, make sure that we don't do things that are going to damage our small businesses that, again, create more than half the jobs in Pennsylvania. Small businesses need tax reform as urgently as do our larger businesses. There are several of the prime sponsors of the bills in our small business tax fairness package sitting with me here at the table today. To my right, Representative Seth Grove, Representative George Dunbar, and then on my left, Senator Mike Fulmer, Senator Scott Hutchinson, and I believe our other prime sponsoring Senator Eichelberger was not able to join us yet, but also around the table a number of the other sponsors from both the House and Senate on these bills, as well as representatives from the National Federation of Independent Businesses of Pennsylvania, which represents the small businesses, Kevin Shivers and Warren Hudock, also a small businessman here in Pennsylvania. So with that, wanted to let Representative Grove make a few remarks, and then the other prime sponsors as they'd like to do. And then we really wanted to have a discussion so that folks can, from the media, can ask questions that you may find relevant this morning.
Yeah, when I was doing doors last election cycle, I ran into tons of small business owners who were struggling here in Pennsylvania, and their message back to me was simply try to help us out. We donate to charities. We're the backbone of the community. We hire people. A lot of small business owners give individuals their first jobs, and they build their repertoire of showing up on time. Their entire life is set on that first job and being good employees and learning how to be a good employee. So they came back, and I discussed the tax package with them, and they said, that's great. Thank you for finally thinking about small businesses and just not focusing on the big corporations and who obviously we want in Pennsylvania, but based on data, they're such a slim majority of businesses overall in Pennsylvania. My particular bill, House Bill 701, just extends the net operating loss into the PIT tax code from the corporate code, and that will allow businesses to extend their net operating losses over several years in order to keep their business viable. Especially new startup businesses tend to operate as a loss in the first few years, so it'll keep those businesses, their doors open over the long term.
And I understand Senator John Eichelberger is now also with us here, and Senator Eichelberger is the Senate prime sponsor of the bill that Representative Grove is sponsoring in the House. The bills have been introduced in the House. They're bills 700, 701, and 702. I'm not sure exactly the status yet in the Senate in terms of numbers.
601, 602, 603.
601, 602, and 603. Senator Eichelberger, did you want to add anything to what Representative Grove said?
No, Seth did a great job, as always, so thank you.
Okay, and Representative Dunbar?
I'll defer to Hutch, or that's fine. Hello, everyone. I'm Representative George Dunbar. I have House Bill 702, which increases the threshold for Section 179 deduction from $25,000 to $100,000. Presently, federal rules, you can deduct up to $400,000 for Section 179 expense. Pennsylvania is lagging behind. If we can increase that threshold from $25,000 to $100,000, it doesn't cost us tax dollars. It just defers the time in which you can take the deduction. You can take the larger deduction up front, as opposed to waiting over a period of time of depreciating these assets. This will not only give a break to our small businesses and puts them on level footing with our C corporations. Our C corporations get that deduction right now. Whatever they have at the federal level, they get at the state level. This will balance it out a little bit. Also, as Representative Bloom had mentioned about taxation issues, when we talk about small businesses and we're talking about the governor's proposal, you know, we hear about a reduction in CNIT, reducing the corporate net income tax from 9.9 down to into the 5s, which is a great thing, and all the corporations are happy. But for small businesses, it doesn't help them at all. It hurts them. Our small businesses, majority of our small businesses are sole proprietorships or S corporations, and they pay a personal income tax. They're taxed at the personal level. So they're looking at a whopping 25 to 33% tax increase. We've got to provide some relief for them. That's why I'm supporting HB 702. I'm sorry. Hutch, if you wanted to add anything on that.
Just you covered it well. Just to reiterate the fact that there are, you know, the flagship issues that people talk about for the big guys, but we're talking about the mom and pop employers who create jobs. They're on the front lines, and we want them to be able to thrive in Pennsylvania too. So some of this stuff is sort of technical to the masses, but in the end, we're talking about the ability of the smaller employers to create jobs, to thrive, and to grow in Pennsylvania. So that's really the theme behind our entire package and the things that we want to do going forward in Pennsylvania.
And Senator Fulmer, if you wouldn't mind explaining the bill that you and I have the parallel versions of in the House and Senate.
Well, basically, first, I would just like to say that, you know, we talk about developing the economy in Pennsylvania. Let's not forget that it's the small business owner that creates 65% of those jobs. So any way that we can help eliminate any type of obstacles, unfair tax practices for that small business person is going to help that small business person to compete effectively. And basically what our bill does, Representative Bloom, is that it basically allows for tax deferrals when properties are exchanged for similar properties. It's a very simple bill. It's actually a no-brainer. The longstanding federal provisions facilitates efficient investments in the job-creating asset businesses need to remain competitive. So allowing the like-kind exchanges in Pennsylvania would remove the disadvantages that Pennsylvania small businesses face when competing with businesses in other states. So the bottom line is we're just trying to remove one of those obstacles, one of those hurdles, to allow our small business people to be competitive, to create those jobs, to flourish, to help Pennsylvania's economy, to help us grow, because that's really what it's about, correct?
Indeed, indeed. And Representative Klunk, I know in your district, you as one of the deputy chairs of the Majority Policy Committee helps to organize a forum or a day-long hearing down in York County, talking with a lot of small business owners. Could you highlight some of the points about small business policy that came out of that policy committee hearing?
Sure, we did. We had an excellent House Majority Policy hearing about 2 weeks ago down at York College, and we heard from big businesses, small businesses alike. We had some CPAs there, and really the message was, please help us understand what these tax policies are, make them predictable, make sure that it's streamlined, make it easy for us to just be in business. When we had the Tax Foundation there, they talked about how Pennsylvania is ranked 34th in the nation when it comes to the state business tax climate, which was really, really shocking to all of us and really makes me feel good knowing that we have support here in both the House and the Senate to really move that ball forward for what we see as issues kind of on the home front. When we had those businesses there, they were talking about the capital stock and franchise tax, making sure that that is phased out to create that predictability within the market for them. We also discussed making sure that we have the uniformity on depreciation. They also talked about the like-kind exchanges and then the carryover losses. So everything that we're talking about here is really what they were echoing on the front lines and what they're seeing every day. So thank you so much for that. I know this past weekend I was talking with my friends and local small business owners, and they're very encouraged by what you all are starting here in the House and the Senate, and we really hope that we can work together and move this ball forward for our small business owners. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kate. And then from NFIB, Warren or
Yeah, sure. Representative, I want to thank you for, and the senators as well, and all of you around the table for introducing and supporting this legislation. I noticed, Representative, you have a simple arithmetic formula sitting behind you. It says small businesses plus fair taxes equals jobs. I'd like to offer for all of you, though, another formula, and that is higher cost plus complexity equals cutbacks. And really, that's what's at stake here. Tomorrow we're going to learn from the governor his spending and revenue plan, what his proposals are going to be and how they're going to impact businesses. And the problem is, we're hearing a lot of rumors about what the tax rates are going to be. Tax rates are a problem, but you know what? It's the complexity of our tax system that make those rates that much more damaging, particularly to small job creators. We've had an historic level of historic lows in the number of business startups here in Pennsylvania, also nationally, but there are fewer people that are deciding to risk their family capital or risk any type of financial investment into starting a business. And there are also fewer, fewer transactions taking place between businesses that are being sold, businesses that are being bought, run, and sold again. That they call that business churn. The higher the churn rate, the healthier the small business economy, the healthier Pennsylvania's economy. I can tell you this, and we're grateful this session. We actually have a whole group of small business owners that have been elected. So you're not alone, Senator Fulmer. You're not alone, Senator Hutchinson. Representative Dunbar. We now have Camera Bartolotta, a state senator out in the western part of the state, a small business owner in her own right. Also, Senator Pat Stefano, another small business owner, longtime NFIB member, and as well as Jason Ortitay, another small business owner. So we're actually excited. I think beyond tomorrow's announcement regarding what the tax rates are going to be and what the budget is going to look like, we're really excited at NFIB because we know that we have more allies in the state Senate and the House that are going to be working forward in improving our jobs climate through this type of legislation. We're grateful for your service and look forward to working with you this session.
Thank you. So please, questions from the media? Sir.
Some of the talk about what's going to be introduced tomorrow is tax increases to offset property taxes. If there's an offset of property taxes, doesn't that benefit in some way small businesses? Everybody has to pay property taxes, right?
I think you have to look over the whole package and how you deliver property taxes. So some data. I pulled this from the Department of Revenue analysis, their tax compilation data. 79% of businesses pay the personal income tax. 79%. 21% pay the corporate net income tax, which means if you do a PIT increase, it is directly hitting small businesses. And most people don't realize that. They think the personal income tax is on that individual. That's not the case. Furthermore, when you look at the total tax package, I pulled this great article from the Central Penn Business Journal. Raymond Keating, he is a guest blogger. He points out that 79% of drilling and oil firms, 91% of gas extraction companies, and 65.5% of oil and gas pipeline individuals that do that are small businesses. So when you take a look at the total package the governor's proposing out there, severance tax, PIT increase, sales tax increase, and expanding that base, is that based on professional services? Because that's a tax on small business as well. When you look at the total PACs and how you drive that down, is he driving it through Homestead, which exempts out small businesses, or is he attacking millage rates, would include small businesses in it? We really have to see the total package, but we do know is a lot of this is directed towards small businesses, and that's why we're here today to say, we need to help small businesses and help them grow and protect them and make sure we have the backbone of our economy still here in Pennsylvania in the next 4 years.
If I may?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're going to be increasing the PIT and letting the property tax values assessments where they're at, it's just going to be an additional burden. I mean, the property taxes may be a burden, but if you're not reducing it and you're just increasing the PIT, you're just building that onto the back of the small business owner even further. And it's going to further exacerbate their ability to remain competitive, to start up new businesses, to take income. and so forth. So what we're trying to do here is to create a more business-friendly atmosphere for small businesses so that there will be more people to take that risk with their own income and their own assets to start new jobs and to further create that atmosphere, which once you have people with jobs, they're going to have spending money. And when they have spending money, what do? They buy things.
Can I just, real quick, there are a couple people that walked in that I didn't realize had arrived. Chairman Maura Gingrich is here from the House Labor and Industry Committee. And Chairman Stan Saylor from the House Education Committee. Oh, and I guess Chairman Baker from the Health Committee was here, but is just left. Okay.
Representative, I'm going to address Chris Komisak's question, but I'm also going to look forward because he's behind me, and I kind of think it's rude to turn my back to the cameras. But his question related to any kind of offsets in property tax, and I think what's important to note is the legislation that all of you have introduced have very minimal impact on the revenue that's being generated in Pennsylvania. What we're talking about doing is just making it easier, just simplifying the way that taxes are calculated and are paid to the government. So when you're looking at the three proposals that are outlined here today, these are not things that really have a huge burden and a cost to Pennsylvania, but what they're going to do is just going to make it a little bit easier to be able to collect that. One of our NFIB members, Warren Hudak, he not only prepares taxes for small businesses here in Pennsylvania, but he also has the ability he collects and prepares taxes for business owners in other states. And maybe Warren, if you want to just talk about the complexity of Pennsylvania's tax system versus maybe some other states and why these changes are long overdue.
Well, already to start with, Pennsylvania small businesses have to keep two sets of books, one for the IRS and one for the state of Pennsylvania. The IRS is a much more friendly organization to work with in many respects.
That's saying something.
Something as simple as the home office deduction. Everybody here is probably familiar with that. Do some freelance work and you deduct your office, but some of the record-keeping burdens are very arduous, and starting a business, keeping records is a time-consuming and a distraction for most small business owners. The IRS recognized that last year and added a safe harbor. If you meet certain criteria, you can take a standard home office deduction. Well, that's fine if you live in Connecticut, where they recognize that, but in Pennsylvania, if you want to take the home office deduction in Pennsylvania, you have to collect all of the paper, all of the forms, and use all of the actual expenses. NFIB and the Voice of Small Business has been very consistent over the last 10 years with our testimony and what we've advocated for. Simplification. No taxpayer should sign a tax return they don't understand. That's happening regularly. These three bills go a long way. We're the only state that doesn't recognize like-kind exchanges. Most small businesses fail because they're undercapitalized. This goes a long way, Amen. A long way to helping that problem in Pennsylvania. And we're the only state who doesn't do it.
There you go.
Most people think you can deduct your expenses when you spend your money, when you write that check. Well, in Pennsylvania, you can't. So Section 179 allows you to actually take the expense when you write the check. Most taxpayers don't realize you can't take that expense when you write the check. Offsetting the NOL, if you have to sell your stuff in order to make payroll, and over the last 4 years we've seen so many of our businesses selling things, cashing in their 401ks just to keep things going. Well, they've been keeping things going, but when you sell something, you generate a profit and you pay taxes on it. Even though you have a loss in your business and you sold the stuff to put in your business, you still have a tax bill in Pennsylvania. This would alleviate that problem. So these three bills are representative of everything that's working in Harrisburg, and I want to thank all of the legislators here for getting it right and understanding that we're not asking for tax relief. We're not asking not to pay our fair share. We're just asking for a simpler tax code.
Thanks, Warren.
That's great.
If there's a PIT or sales tax proposal in the governor's budget tomorrow, do you believe that there needs to be a specific requirement before you even consider it that property taxes be reduced for not only business but homeowners? And do you think there needs to be a dollar for dollar reduction? Increase it so much, you cut property taxes.
Yes. You're not gonna let me get it. So yeah, I think the general consensus, diving anybody who has done anything on property taxes fully supports dollar for dollar reductions, and that's, you can talk about Senate Bill 76, you can talk about 1189 from last session, whatever it is, dollar for dollar. It's never been utilized as a way to expand government or do some kind of swap where you're doing like 75% towards property tax, 25% just for new spending. It's always been the promise is going back to property taxpayers at some point. And that's kind of universal. I haven't seen a property tax plan out there that is not dollar for dollar specific, and that's going back to, you can talk about former House member under, I guess, when the Democrats were in control of the House, not Longevity, but forget it, Lebdansky. Yeah, thank you. His concept was dollar for dollar reductions as well. So,
Other questions?
Following up on the dollar for dollar reductions, would you support school districts still being able to raise their property taxes in the future then? I mean, trying to understand how this does eventually get.
Number one, we need to see what the governor comes out with. He could be doing total dollar for dollar. From what I think everybody's been hearing, that's necessarily not the case. And he's coming out with pretty expansive tax package. So we need to see how all that intermingles together, especially on how it affects particularly small businesses, big businesses, individual taxpayers. I think he's going to throw out a lot. And I appreciate him attacking, don't get me wrong, I appreciate him trying to attack, our overall tax burden here in Pennsylvania. I think it's very difficult to do. So I appreciate his leadership in trying to at least start a conversation moving towards maybe a fair tax system for individuals, businesses, big and small.
And again, getting back to the core of what we're doing today is basically just trying to respectfully remind the governor that when you look at the PIT, the personal income tax, for small businesses, if they're structured as a proprietorship, a partnership, an LLC, whatever it may be, for the vast majority of those small businesses, what they ultimately pay, their tax is the personal income tax. That's what they pay. And so the personal income tax, if you raise that, it's raising a tax on our small businesses. And that's the key thing that really we want to make sure the governor doesn't let our small businesses fall through the cracks. They are creating 65% of our jobs, and we don't want to punish them at the time they can least afford to be punished.
Representative, I wanted to ask either senators or even Representative Ortitay, I mean, past experience running a business, and you know what it's like to make payroll and also to deal with cash flow issues. Is there a way that you can bring some color or better understanding about why these changes would be helpful in helping a small employer?
These changes would help my business tremendously. I don't have a small business. I have a microscopic business. I have 6 employees. It's the very first drive-through quick lube that the Mon Valley ever saw. We've had it for 26 years. It's called the Duke of Oil. Duke of. You'll be humming that all day. You're welcome. But in my situation, with the now gas prices are much lower than they've been over the years. Every single time that they went up, every time oil went up as an oil change business, my inventory costs went up. They never come down. So in order to compete and to not raise our prices to the roof, I stopped taking a paycheck 2.5 years ago. And actually quite the opposite. I've been having to invest in my own company, and again, you can't write that off. It's a capital investment. So I'm paying income tax at the end of the year on that business, even though I'm investing in the business so that we could buy other equipment. Now we do inspections every year. But again, this format, these resolutions here would help small business tremendously. You can reinvest in your company again. You can grow your company. You can improve your company. You can hire more people. And I think that the growth that this would facilitate is tremendous. So thank you for that.
Sure. Well, thank you very much. I echo the same sentiments. I am a third-generation printing company, and we employ 5, now going on 6. And I've said it all along, if we can just take some of the burden away from small business, and if we each just hire 1, can you imagine the growth that we would have? It's just tremendous. And I want to hire at least 2 more, but I'm just held back at every turn. So these steps are steps in the right direction. And if we want to grow, this is the way we do it, with less taxation, more employment, and then we have everybody working. So And I want to thank NFIB for being forefront in helping us as a small business have a voice. I have a voice now bigger than I ever have, and that's why I took this opportunity to get involved in the Senate, because now I can speak on behalf of all the people who, like myself, are struggling. And I'm thankful for the opportunity, and thank you for NFIB too, and gentlemen for your bills.
Thank you.
And I'll echo the same comments as my two colleagues here. I'm in the third year of my business, and we're growing this year at close to 500%, and I need to add more people. And the complexity of the system just makes it hard for me to understand how I can add more people and afford it. So hopefully this year, I mean, with these plan changes, I'll be able to do that. But it really is. It's been hard up to this point to hire people, and I'm looking forward to these changes and making it a lot easier.
You know, you make an important point for the sponsors here with the legislation, because, again, these bills are not about just taking revenue away from the state. These are giving entrepreneurs the opportunity to invest more dollars into their companies, which are going to generate more sales taxes, more income, potentially hiring new workers. You know, that is actually, you know, the economic effect of stimulative actions like this. You know, we know the governor, businessman, knows how to read a balance sheet and a financial statement. And when you take a look at the numbers, the dollars and the cents, it's going to be easy, in my opinion, and our members' opinion, to see the value that's added to the state by the three pieces of legislation that you've all courageously been willing to introduce. We think they're going to far outweigh any potential negative effects. In fact, we think there's only going to be positive from this legislation. So again, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the media?
I just had one really. Senate Bill 76, component to that, I said that it essentially kills the property tax. There's, you know, still some things with debt service. But do you think any proposal from the governor, he's talking about getting % for education funding? I mean, but do you think that will go far enough, or do you think that, what kind of resistance do you think that can encounter?
Well, there's always going to be a skepticism amongst the voters and legislators for any proposal to eliminate property tax that only does a partial job. So, you know, that's an issue that we've been wrestling with as a state for decades. Our focus today is really on the idea of be careful with that personal income tax, because when you raise that, you're not only raising it across the board on taxpayers from all stripes, but in particular, you're raising it on Pennsylvania small businesses. And there's a tremendous risk in doing that at a time when businesses are struggling to stay afloat. And I forgot to mention, the bills in the House, they all have over 30 co-sponsors, each of the three bills. I'm not sure about the Senate yet, but great response, great support, and appreciate everyone coming out today to lend their particular piece of insight on this whole process. We're excited moving forward, and we do again hope that Governor Wolf will take note of this issue, so important to our Pennsylvania small businesses. Thank you.